Goodness gracious, I've enjoyed the topic this week, and I appreciate your willingness to go on these journeys with me, these philosophical, metaphysical, spiritual journeys for the purpose of stretching our minds and our imagination. But I did make a catastrophic error yesterday in my little talk, and now the Schrodinger's cat is out of the bag, so to speak. And what I did is I made the horrifying mistake. I put two words together that have labeled me forever, and I put the words intelligent and design together in back to back. Intelligent and design. And of course, this now qualifies me as a flack-jawed, mouth-breathing rube. And as we used to call ourselves back in West Virginia, I'm obviously one of those people that believes in reincarnation. So now that I have even mentioned intelligent design and the concept, I've pigeonholed myself as one of the small-minded, limited beings that hasn't really woken up to the fact that the universe is not intelligently designed. Isn't that just a weird way to lay it out, like in a courtroom? On one side are those who would argue that the universe is intelligently designed, and on the other side are those who vehemently, stridently argue that you're not allowed and you can't even begin to consider the possibility of intelligent design as the origin of the universe. But then, yesterday, while I made the hideous error of putting intelligent and design together, I also fell into the camp and I brought some firepower along with me by mentioning some of the great scientists of the 20th century. And I could name many right up to this day: Schrodinger, Heisenberg, Bohr, Planck, the list goes on and on. Sir Arthur Eddington, amazingly intelligent minds. And these were the great minds of the early 20th century that these are the deepest scientists. They had a reverence for science and examination. And because where science had brought them 100 years ago, roughly, was the atomic material explanation of the universe, that there was a fundamental particle it began to evaporate, and it began to evaporate into a vast sea of what you might call a field or quantum. This was the weird, wacky, impossible to understand world of probability and potential. And they began to see clearly, experimentally and mathematically, that there was something that went along with probability and possibility and potential, and that was the observer, the necessary component that was crucial to bring reality into reality. Now, because of this, many of these great thinkers, they began to turn to models of philosophy that they found actually represented, correlated with such a world. And many of them turned to Advaita Vedanta, the Indian world of the non-dual. Many of them turned to deep mystical Christianity. And in essence, what many of them mentioned is that, distilled all down, the universe is not a thing. It's much more like a mind. It's much more immaterial, like a mind. Now, what's interesting about a mind is anything in the universe that we find that is organized, is structured, is intelligently designed, always has a mind behind it. There's a mind behind it. So we conclude this discussion this week. I'm going to ask you, listening in your chair, a very pointed question. Were you intelligently designed? You. Were you intelligently designed, or are you the product of random, mindless interactions? Now, keeping in mind, our parents, did they meditate and did they light a candle? Did they pray before they brought you into being, so to speak? I shan't elaborate, or was that just a random thing? What would happen if one of the two of them had happened to have a headache that day? Are we random? Are you? Oh, this isn't random right here. So here's the big thought. Are you intelligently designed or are you random? At the core of your being, are you the product of an intelligent mind? So here we are in the courtroom of metaphysics, the courtroom of consciousness, the courtroom of how we think about ourselves. If we are random, mindless, as one worldview says, then what's the point? What's the destiny? What's the mission? What's the purpose? If the universe is mindless, then ultimately it has no mission, no purpose, and we're temporary, insignificant minutiae within it, easily and soon to be extinguished. Or we are much like individual dollops of mind in one large, great mind. And to me, that model of reality holds much more like what I observe, what I feel, and what I intuit. And this was the same as some of the greatest scientists that have ever lived. They looked at various models of reality and saw the universe as a great mind filled with potential and possibility, shaped by choice and decision, and essentially very good. And what a decision to make. No one can make this decision for you, but while no one can make this decision for us, the consequence of the decision is crucial. And if we think that we're mindless, the product of random, mindless interactions, there's one life to be led. If we think otherwise and posit that and put the weight of our being in that, practice, think upon it, remember it every day, it does have a consequent effect. We begin to live in a much more harmonious, interactive, integrative, loving universe. That's where I choose to live. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. You can tell me what you think about these great topics. Have a mindful day.